sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Please give me a second to get set up here. I want to put myself on a timer so that it's a dangerous thing to give a preacher a microphone.
The preacher and a politician.
No, I'm not a politician. All right. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you so much, Festo, and Let's Help International. And my regards to everyone who has presented today. As they were talking, I was like, okay, they've said everything I have to say. So I don't know what else I'll have to say but to echo everyone else. But I'm taking it from a unique perspective, and I want to talk about faith-based communities. What are their roles in refugee support? I'm going to skip quite a number of slides. I kind of misunderstood the idea of breakout sessions, so I'm going to compress it, and then maybe the questions can help me bring out some of the things I may have skipped. All right. I'm so glad that Dike talked about and asked a question at the beginning of about what a refugee comes into a new country with. And I want to segue from there. When a refugee comes into a country like Canada, the truth is there is so much that has been left behind. Some of them have left their homes, some have left their professions, some are coming in with a foreign language and connecting is very difficult, and some have qualifications that don't have any meaning in Canada. And so they have a lot to rebuild. They have to rebuild their qualifications, their credentials. They have to rebuild their income, friendships. Refugees have a high distrust in establishments because of what they've been through. And they have to rebuild that trust as they come to places like this. But the things that endure are faith, family, resilience, dignity, and hope for the future. Like Chidi said earlier in one of his comments, refugees come with high hopes. There's hardly a person that came here. I remember growing up in Nigeria, we actually believed that money grew on trees here in Canada. We were told if you don't have a job, don't worry, the government will pay you. But it was a different thing when we came here, right? But you had all these hopes of the country that you're coming, especially for refugees. Now, why are faith communities very important, and why are they uniquely placed to help refugee settlement? Well, all faith communities share a common moral call, and that is to help the stranger. It is embedded in the faith of every religious group that we know. Not just that, they're ready-made community. Churches, mosques, temples, they're already established here in Canada. They have the buildings, they have the volunteers and the gatherings that are necessary for refugees to integrate. But not only that, they have a presence that is ever present. It's one thing to have programs and throw programs at new refugees, and then after 6 weeks it's done. But a faith community is there permanently, and they can make permanent connections with these people. And it's an environment of trust and relational reach. It's not just somewhere you go to worship, but it's a place that you really connect with people. In faith in faith communities, there are people that find themselves in all sectors of life. There are doctors there, there are psychologists there, and you name it. And you're able to connect with connect in trusting relationships with these people. So there are three postures of welcome when it comes to faith-based communities. The first is presence, right? Most of the help newcomers get is just someone who is reliably there when they need them. And there's belonging. Hospitality that stops at a welcome basket isn't enough. The aim is membership of a community. And that newcomer can say, this is my community, right? Remember, they've been uprooted from their communities to a foreign land. And faith-based communities can create a place that they can call home. Not just that, they can find advocacy in faith-based communities because faith-based communities carry moral authority. And we should use it. For those of us who are in faith communities, we should use it. I'm not a politician like Chidi or Sheriff, so I can speak truth to power based on my faith convictions because I'm not voted in or voted out.
No door knocking.
Well, we do our own version of door knocking. In that we are alike. All right. So how can faith communities help? I'm rushing through this. There's a lot more to say, but I will just give the highlights. Well, the first is spiritual care. Obviously, that is what faith-based communities are there for, But when we're helping, the tendency I find with faith-based communities are they only tend to those who are of their faith denomination or their faith belief. And I say that it should be a welcome of people of every faith, and even those who have none. Right? And every faith tradition, every faith-based tradition has that belief that we must take care of the stranger. We must take care of the downtrodden, regardless of what they believe and regardless of who they are. But in addition, we provide spaces for worship and prayer for those who need it and walk with people in meaning and hope. Another area is emotional, right? We've said a lot about that today. When refugees come, they carry a lot of trauma. They have survived war, they've survived loss, they've gone through dangerous journeys. And here's the truth, as faith practitioners, we are not therapists, but one of our gifts is presence and patient listening to those who go through this kind of trauma. Plus knowing the warning signs and having referral plans ready. One of the things I'm going to talk about is we don't have all the answers, right? As the faith community, I'm not a mental health practitioner, even though I've been trained to identify when someone is going through mental trauma or mental challenges. But I'm not skilled to deal with the mental part of challenges people face. And that's the time we collaborate with other mental health, medical practitioners who can help in this area. And then, of course, there's the social integration that happens through relationships, not just pamphlets or seminars, but these are personal interactions that we have with people. Many refugees and many immigrants to Canada, one of the first things they'll tell you coming to Canada is they were very lonely when they started. But the faith communities already have a group of people that is still receiving people, and people can find belonging in groups like that. All right, so there are a number of practical supports that faith-based communities can provide or connect refugees to housing and setup, language and literacy, work and skills, navigating systems like red tape, government red tape, getting your license, getting your better health card and things like that, opening an account, food and essentials, and rides and accompaniments. They have to go for appointments. They're scared. They don't know what they can reveal to a doctor or not. out. You can, faith-based communities can help take them to their doctor's appointment and be a support for them when they're in such appointments and the like, right? This is not an exhaustive list, but this gives us an idea of some things that faith communities can do. All right, I want to give us an example of some other things that faith-based communities can do. Our organization, All Nations Full Gospel Church, in 1997, we started an NGO called All Nations International Development Agency, and it was to help alleviate poverty, to help underprivileged people in Canada, but not just Canada, also in foreign lands like Asia, Africa, the Caribbean. Our latest project is in South Sudan, where I'm sure you know they've been ravaged by war for so many years, and you know, we getting in touch with the communities. One of the things we found out was that they don't have incubators, and thousands of babies die just after birth, right? And we're engaging with them to help projects there. We have food banks here in Canada and the like. You can go to the website there. You can see the website, and I've given Festo the slides so he can share them with you. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I just want to talk about their model, not so much what they do. You'll find that on the website, but their model. The model, and the lady that spoke earlier talked about it. It is important that we listen to the groups we want to help. A lot of times we say to ourselves, we know what you need. This is what you need. And we go, wonderful, we've helped them, right? But not necessarily. We need to listen first. What are their needs? We need to understand a community's own priorities before we begin to proffer solutions. The second is, not only should we give them handouts, but it was the Chinese said, you can give a person a fish, he'll thank you, but how about teaching him how to fish for himself? And it's important that in refugee communities coming into Canada, we have a responsibility to develop leadership through them, right? We need to strengthen local leadership through education, through health, through opportunity. And then we build for lasting impact, not just giving them food for 1 week, not just getting them to be successful. I believe our story of success should be that they are giving back to new immigrants and refugees coming in, to a point that they can transform the lives of others as they have been transformed. Now, this is the model that the All Nations International Development Agency uses. Now, so what does that teach us? Well, obviously, ask before you act. Listen first. Newcomers know their own needs better than we do. And so we need to design support with them, not for them. You know, our distinguished speaker that talked earlier, she talked about a colonial mentality amongst foreign nations trying to help out in third world countries. But there's another trend I'm seeing, and it's been going under the radar, but it's real. Diaspora immigrants are now colonizing locals. Let me give you a story about what I mean. African slaves were freed in the United States, in Eastern Canada, in the 1800s, and they were shipped back to Africa. And some of them landed in Liberia, in Monrovia. And guess what these recently freed slaves did? Well, when they landed, they now subjugated the locals in Monrovia. And it was a tradition that persisted, and it was one of the boiling factors of the Liberian Civil War. Think of it. Is it a white-black thing? Racism? Colonialism? Yes. But it seems like we are learning from them because we do the same, right? In our projects, we especially in faith-based communities, and I'm a faith-based practitioner, so I'm also rebuking myself. Sometimes we offer help for the mere reason that we want them to be part of our congregations or our groups. And if you're not going to be part of my group, I'm not going to help you. Go find somebody else. That should not be. We should help the stranger, and we should ask before we act. And we should treat them as leaders. Many of the refugees that we have helped have become leaders in their communities, guiding others in what they, in how to integrate. We should aim past emergency, not just the meal for today, but let's teach them how to fish. And we must steward trust visibly. Transparency and dignity keep volunteers, donors, and families engaged. How we help is part of the help. All right, another important point is this. Faith-based communities, we can't do it alone. Okay, now we know God can do everything alone, but we're not God. All right, we can't do it alone. It is important that we collaborate with others. Faith communities collaborating with other faith communities, with employers, governments and schools, health and mental health supports, diaspora and volunteers and settlement agencies. We should be able to connect. I see faith communities as connectors because all these kinds of people are in faith communities, and we can connect them to the resources that refugees need. Now, some best practices and pitfalls, best practices to adopt and pitfalls to avoid. Those to adopt, ask what is needed, then listen. Sustain relationships, not one-off events that we hold. Train and support your volunteers. Honor each person's culture. And partner widely. Refer beyond your reach. If a case comes, for those in similar faith groups, not every case is demonic. A demon you have to cast out from the person. Sometimes it's mental health. You do what you have to do as a faith-based practitioner, but don't be scared to refer them to a psychologist, to a doctor. Now, pitfalls to avoid. Avoid help that creates dependence. They become so dependent on us, they never progress. We have that tendency of starting projects big, and it goes with a bang. In 1 year, you don't hear about it again. We should create programs that are sustainable. We should avoid assuming everyone is just like me, and so what I need is what they need, right? Refers back to listening. And we should avoid walking in a silo and duplicating others. I find in a lot of faith-based communities, when it comes to care for refugees, there's too much duplication. What will happen if we all came together and worked together, at least for the goal of integrating refugees? I think we'll have a much bigger impact. All right. Like I said, I misread or misunderstood the breakout session. So I was going to have an interactive session, but I don't think I have much time. So I'll wrap up. But a few things to think about. What are the challenges of integration? Some of you may have been refugees or immigrants. What were the challenges that you faced? And what do you think? How can faith communities respond better? And what are the best practices and partnerships that you can think of? I wanted to hear from you because I'm not a pro by any standard. But I'll also like to hear about your shared experiences. And so like Dio, I want to ask, what from what we've heard today, what is one small thing your community could start within a month? Where have you seen welcome of refugees done very well? Some food for thought for you. Again, we don't have much time, so I'll wrap up. Now, if you remember these three things, presence over programs, listening and then leading together with refugees, and knowing that no one welcomes alone, we need a team, we should be ready to collaborate and refer when we need to, I believe will make a big difference in refugees coming to Edmonton and coming to Canada. Thank you, and let's keep welcoming the stranger.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. You need to come over.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hold on for this laptop.
Thank you.